Hi there, Minder.
Hi.
We're back on our bullshit.
Yep. For us, it's been like 2 minutes.
Yeah, but you know what? That's okay. Um, Hi, we're a podcast, and we do podcast things. I'm Nikki, and that's Amanda. Say hi, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
And we're just two neurodivergent best friends traveling the neuroverse together because we're living in a neurotypical world. We are not neurotypical girls. Minder, what are we
hmm
talking about today?
Kind of piggybacking on our last episode, where about routines getting disrupted abruptly. So basically, both of us had this. We realized how like parallel our experiences were, in terms of obviously mainly our jobs. And so for autistic people, like neurodivergent people, or at least ADHD people don't really care about routine that much. I mean, some do, but like mainly autistic people like thrive on routine, and so
Yeah,
I think it just hits us harder in
yeah,
terms of the disrupt of our like basically our mental decline in terms of no longer having a routine.
yeah. Like what happens
hmm
when that routine is
So
abruptly, or at least our experience with
yeah,
having an abrupt
obviously we don't speak for everybody. Um,
no,
so and we're not therapists or anything, so not doctors.
right.
Just
Yeah,
talking about our personal
refer to the
experiences
disclaimer.
because this is relatively recent. Like this is more recent for me, but Nikki also like it's been about a year and a half for Nikki, so it's relatively recent for us.
Yeah. Do you want to start with where you're at, or do you want me to start?
Sure, I'll go and start since I
Okay.
talked the last 40 minutes of the last one, so I'm in a talking mood now. Um, so as talked about like before last episode, lost my job end of January. Um, and I have told Nikki, and I think I briefly touched on it here, and I was talking to my friend Tyler that we were it's been weird how I've been mentally processing losing my job because I expected to have cried more, and I only have cried like being in the parking lot after picking up my stuff and seeing like 6 years of my life in boxes in my trunk, right? So my processing right now has been just my executive function is just out the window. So I had a routine with my job. Obviously, it was like an 8 to 5 job. And so Monday through Friday. So that's a very pretty rigid routine. And right now it's because I don't have that anymore. Like I'm not getting anything done in my house. Like basically it's I had to do like the trick of like the neurodivergent trick of like if I wanted to get something done around my house, I had to like not take my shoes off, not sit down when I got home. So it just kind of like but because I'm home all the time now, I don't have that drive to get anything done. So, like, and like I said last time, I'm still my dishes are still done, my laundry's still done. It's just more of like I have a lot of doom piles everywhere. Like I'm looking right now under my one of my windows. I have like probably 3 out of the 5 boxes from my office just piled up under the window because I just haven't had the mental energy to go through it and sort it and everything. And
Yeah.
it's also a matter of I need to just go through my house again and just get rid of more stuff because it's like I don't have this is stuff I had in my office, right? It's not stuff I had at home that I brought to my office. It's stuff I bought specifically for my office, so I don't have a place for it at home.
Right.
And so I just have a bunch of little doom piles. Like my room, like my bedroom's picked up. Like the only thing that's really on my bedroom floor is like 2 pieces of clothing and my other comforter. Like, cause I changed my linens when I wash them. So I just have my other comforter that I need to wash when it's time to change it. And so, because that's another thing I have to do, I have to get like a giant tote to. I think I have one, but like a giant tote to put like my spare bedding in, and it's just trying to organize that. I've been trying to organize my closet. My closet's a disaster because I took apart a metal shelving unit, and it's just sitting in pieces on my bedroom floor, and has been since before I lost my job. So it's not looking great in there. But so I was telling my friend Tyler, it's like my processing is that like I just kind of sit in like a catatonic state. I can do that for like hours at a time. It's not every day, but like I'll just sit or like I'll doom scroll. And so like I had this routine where 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, I would in the morning make my protein drink, which was like mostly coffee. Like I had a Keurig at my desk. So I would make a cup of I like one of those like reusable pods um and just had a bag of ground coffee that I kept at my desk, and I would just make a cup of coffee in like in a blender bottle, add some almond milk and my protein powder. And I would then put that in the fridge or the freezer depending on how soon before lunch I made it to cool it down, add ice, and then I would drink that. That would be my lunch. That would be like what I drank throughout the day until I got home and had dinner. So that'd be like my lunch. That was like my meal replacement type of thing. And also because like my medication makes me so focused at work, like I just wouldn't think about eating anyway. So, and if I was bored, I would eat, like I would snack and everything. But most of the time, I just used my protein drink, and that kept me until dinner. And then on my lunch, I would go walking. If it was nice, if it wasn't raining, I would even walk in the cold. Like even if it was like, probably the coldest I ever walked outside was probably upper 20s, maybe low 30s. As long as there wasn't ice on the ground, I was walking outside. So I was keeping up because I've also like, tried to lose weight and stuff. It's like it took like 3 years, which is like I think it's a slow weight loss, but it's not it kept me like the routine of the my weight loss. It's not like program or anything. I wasn't like on a particular diet or anything. I didn't count my calories too much. Um, but I about 3 years I lost about 60, yeah, about 60 pounds. So walking helped me do that. Luckily, I've only gained about 5 pounds since losing my job, which I know sounds a lot, like in 6 weeks, but to me, it's like I could have gained so much more. And
Yeah.
in full honesty, I could have gained so much more. But losing, like, I need to go start going out walking. It's just the fact of like once I get going, I'm good to go. Like once I get going on something, I'm good to go for a while. But like because I'm at home, I don't have the energy to start. Like
Yeah.
if I got dressed, like when I was at Scott's 2 days ago, and he was like cleaning, he was like, wiping, like, cleaning up his kitchen and everything, and we were preparing to cook dinner and stuff. And he was and that gave me the drive to like, oh, I should go home and do that because I saw someone else doing it, the whole bodily doubling thing, right? Like I saw this person doing it, so I should go do it. But then I got home and sat down and that didn't happen, right?
Yes, I get it.
So it's I think it's like, and I've been trying, like I haven't been taking my medication every day. Like I stopped because I take ADHD medication, but because it's like, well, I don't have anything to focus on, what's the point of taking it? And so, but then I'm like, because also like I've been building up my my store of medication because luckily, because now the medication's expensive, and so luckily I haven't had to buy any more yet. Like I haven't had a refill since I lost my job because I lost my insurance and everything. So medication's expensive without insurance. So I haven't really been taking it because I've been trying to like ration it in a way. But that's also like another part of my routine that's disrupted. And so it's also part of like why I can't really focus much because like, or why I can't focus on doing anything around my house because I've not been taking medication. So I've been trying to do that at least during days where I'm like, okay, I need to get this stuff done around my house. And then I've been trying to make my protein drinks at least every other day. So that way it's just another part of my routine that I had. And also I had the routine, like my personal, like fun routine of every Monday, I would go get Dunkin'. So I got a notification yesterday. Yesterday was Monday, and like at least most of the time, Dunkin' Mondays, like they have like bonus point. It's like their bonus point day where they give you like 100 bonus points if you order. And so
Mhm.
that was like my weekly routine. Is I would on one of my breaks on Monday at work, I would, because like Dunkin' was basically just right across the street. I would go get Dunkin'. So I don't have that in my routine, and so I basically just it's not like my life has completely fallen apart. It's just if you looked at my house, you would think it has. It's like, man, she really let herself go. It's like a lot of it's just mental. Like I do not and it's not like physical. It's like, yeah, I could get up and go and clean my house. It's just it's the mental part. Like I said, the executive function is gone.
Yeah.
Just absolutely gone.
Yeah.
So like that's I think that's like the main part. Like, yeah, I getting fired abruptly from a job, especially like I wasn't fired while I was at work. I was fired via phone while I was at home. So the fact of like it was such a weird severance type of thing where
Yeah.
I didn't get there was no time to process. It's not like it was like, you get fired and like some people like they feel and I had been joking with a coworker of mine like for months. It's like I just feel like I'm getting fired. I have this like feeling I'm gonna get fired. I can't tell you. And I think part of the reason why losing this job that I had for 6 years, that I had a lot of great coworkers, like I said, it was my routine and it was a job that I enjoyed. Like 90% of the time, it was a job I enjoyed. I think it would have been worse if it was in our old office because if you've been listening long enough, we had switched office buildings from like we had like a smaller office building where we had like maybe I would say like 15 of us, maybe 20 of us in an office building, and most of us like we all had our own offices except the call center like was in the center of the building in like cubicles, and the cubicles were not like typical cubicles you see. They were like the walls almost reached the ceiling. Like they were divided like by actual walls, and so it was more like enclosed than an actual cubicle where everyone can see you all the time. So I had my own office in that building. And then in June, we moved to a bigger office building. We combined the back offices of two branches plus our office. So we went from maybe having like 15, 20 people in the building to like 50.
Yeah.
Um, and like all the higher ups, all the VPs. So we moved like our call center, our finance department, our collections department, our mortgage department, all into and like my department marketing all that all into one building, and it was a big building. It's not like you could walk around and not run into anybody. It was a huge building. It was too big. Like if you even like did a quarter of this building it would still be quite enough of a building for us. Like it was just an obnoxious purchase, I think. So um but I lost my office, and so I was in a cubicle. Now the cubicle was if I sat up straight, I could look over the cubicle just fine, and people could look at me, and that annoyed me. And I had, at least in my own office, I kept my lights off because I hate overhead lights. As any person neurodivergent probably agree, like
No big light.
no big light, please. So I could turn my light off. I could close the door if I was getting audibly stimulated because, like I said, the call center was in the middle of the building, and my door opened up to the call center. So if everyone was getting too loud, and we didn't have like a large call center. There was like 8 people. It wasn't like a ginormous like call center like you would see for like bigger companies. It was a small call center because we're like a small company. So I had my own office where I could control the audio, control the visual, control everything, and had blinds on the window that I had. And I had my own window, like to the outside. So if I wanted to look outside, I could. Granted, I would looking at the side of another building, but still, it was sunlight. Where this new office, no windows, only one side had windows, and I was not on the side that had windows. And um, in a giant ass room where I was one cubicle out of like 20, and like there was three other people in my area that all sat in the back, and I sat in the very front. So everyone that walked in front of me, I saw, and it was so annoying because they walked inches away from my cubicle in every given moment. Instead, they could have just walked on the other side. So that just pissed me off all the time. And that I could hear everything. Like I could hear everyone's conversations around me, and that's just I literally had to buy headphones, like noise canceling headphones, because I just couldn't take it anymore. And so that disrupted that routine of having my own office because I also in my original office I had that I could close the door, shut the blinds, and I could stretch and do my exercises. Like I was getting, because I'm very inflexible, so I was using that to like do my exercises. I had an exercise ball. I was using it to like continue my exercise thing that I was doing, like including the walking thing. But I lost that. So I think that's part of the thing of if I had lost this job when we had the old office, I think it would have hit me more. But because between like having this office between June, June and losing my job in January, I almost felt out of place, right?
Yeah.
Like I felt like it's almost like an out of body experience. So because I didn't have the routine of the old office, I losing the routine of having a job, I don't think hit me as hard, right? Because I didn't feel as attached to this building, to this new office. So I feel like my hope you can hear me fine because my video is being weird.
Yeah,
But
I haven't had any interruptions with your audio. You're good.
okay, just making sure. So I feel like um this new office, I just feel like out of place. So I feel it's almost like not like losing the job was a godsend or anything because obviously I didn't want to lose my job and it was so abrupt, but it came at a better time than if it happened 6 months earlier, right? So
Yeah.
that's basically all my bullshit in terms of disruption. Like I said, I thrive on routine. Like anytime like Nikki knows and Scott knows that when we go somewhere like we travel or something, I I like to plan it out. Like we'll do spontaneous stuff like we spontaneous like when we went to Chicago, we were like, "Oh, we're not really sure what we're doing besides going to this comedy show, but we went to that Disney thing, which was really fun."
Yeah,
And
because we didn't even
so
know that was there.
yeah,
We
we didn't
just
know it was
saw
there.
it
We
on
just
the
saw it
road
on
and
a
we were like, we're
highway.
going to that tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, a billboard. Okay." And so like I I like thrive a routine and so oh,
I can hear you. Your video's
okay.
just gone for some reason.
Yeah. So the um so I like I said, it almost doesn't feel like 100% it's hit me like it kind of just doesn't feel real, but I know it is. It's hard to explain. Like
Yeah.
it's more of the disrupted routine which has left me like more depressed than anything, I think, than the job itself. Because like I said, I've been feeling for months that I was getting fired for one reason or another. So it's it's more of, and that just probably my anxiety talking. Like at the time was my anxiety talking. Like I always felt like I was in trouble for something. So I think I've rambled enough about mine. So what about you? Because I know you said about moving buildings, and then obviously losing or having to quit your job.
Yeah. I will say, like, I feel like because we know each other very well and we can pick up on each other's like vibes and shit pretty well. I will say I feel like I did start to notice a little bit of a decline in your mental health. I feel like your fuse was a little shorter. Your
Hmm.
tolerance for things making you irritated was shorter once you moved to that new building.
Yeah, because
Like
it's like
it really
I was so
fucked you up.
overstimulated. Yeah, I was so overstimulated all the time, and so
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like, and that just made my personal life affected by the fact of like I couldn't control the environment I was in anymore.
Right. And it's I think it's less about I mean, definitely we do have an issue with control. Both of us do. But like the overstimulation was just so next level for you. It was almost an assault on your senses every single day. Like
Right.
you had no and there was no escaping it. So and to know that you have to go there as a means to like continue to fucking live, you know? Like, and then you, like, it's something you have to do, and then that grates on you, and it's like, I don't know. I get it. I get the struggle, right?
Mhm.
Like, for me, I think what it was, sorry, big yawn. It's that time of the fucking day for me where my body is like, hey, guess what? It's 2 p.m. It's time for a fucking nap. Um, and I had an allergy shot today, so it doesn't help anything.
Mhm.
Anyway, I think for me, I had a similar situation. When I first started working at my job, we had a tiny little store and we made it work, right? And was it a pain in the ass and overstimulating in its own way sometimes? Yes, but like the majority of the time that I worked there, almost two of the 2.5 years that I worked there were at the old store, right? And I had a routine there. We knew where everything was, even though we kind of had to shift things quite a bit. Like it was just the normal, right? Like you learned
Right.
how to operate around what you had. And we had a little team of people that worked really well until they didn't. And then I feel like the relationships there were hard to navigate for me. And also like there in the little tiny store, we didn't have super great lighting. It was more of like that yellow dimmer lighting. The floors were not so bright, the walls weren't so bright, shelving wasn't bright white. Like everything was just dull. It was kind of desaturated in there, right? And then
Mhm.
we move in January, end of January, February, um, to the same complex, but just down to the complete opposite end, which is literally double plus the square footage that we were currently operating in. So that alone is overwhelming because we don't have a big staff. And now we have double plus the amount of square footage to navigate.
Right.
Everything is brand new. We have to start completely over from scratch. We do not know, like, the way that everything was handled was not proper. Like, it just wasn't. That we had half the amount of help we should have had to get this damn thing ready to go before we opened. We weren't ready completely when we opened. And the fucking lights in this place
Bright
were
as fuck.
like the brightest fucking lights you have ever seen in your life, and there were so many of them. Both me and my boss had the worst fucking headaches for like the first 3 weeks of being there because we literally were blinded every fucking day by how bright these damn lights were. Not to mention, we were all exhausted from having killed ourselves trying to work double and triple overtime to get the fucking store open. Everything was everywhere. That the way that they wanted us to set up the store didn't make sense for how our sales worked. There was so many things going on that when that move happened that again, I had no control over, right?
Right.
And that I think is where I really started to show my ass at work. Like,
Mhm.
and I will take full responsibility for that. My fuse was non existent. I was not nice. I was so snippy. I was saying the rudest shit about people to people. Like, I had no filter, right? The filter was fucking gone because I was so overstimulated. There was so much going on that made no fucking sense.
It's like one of those
Like,
things. Like, is she being a bitch or is she just overstimulated? It's like
correct. Both. It was both.
both.
I was sick and fucking tired of the little bit of help that we were. I was so overstimulated and so overwhelmed because we received no fucking help comparatively to what other stores received when they had to do a move or a remodel or a relocate, right?
Mhm.
Of which it was both for us. It was a complete gutting and remodeling of a brand new building, plus then relocating the store. So we got no fucking help comparatively. And then me and my boss were the only two people that put in the majority of the work, like work coming in super early, leaving super fucking late. There was one other girl that did quite a bit, but like still wasn't doing as much as me and my boss were, and then the other two just didn't have the schedule to be able to do it or didn't want to or whatever. But whatever. It's their fucking time, whatever. But we were so overworked, overstimulated, new environment, bright fucking lights, still trying to figure out where everything goes, how everything's supposed to fit. We can't keep the shelving stocked to save our lives, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We can't. Because the new way that they set up the color wall for our most popular brand was really fucking difficult to keep stocked. And the shelf spacing was now so little that every time you'd push the little bottles into the pushers, you'd scrape your fucking knuckles
Mm-hmm.
on the marketing above it. Like, there was just so many things grating on my fucking nerves every day in that place. And then relationships started to fall apart, which obviously they're going to fall apart when I'm in a fucking terrible mood all the goddamn time that I can't that I don't realize how terrible of a mood I'm in. I didn't realize how fucking bad of a mood I was in all the time, like until now with the hindsight 2020 thing, right? Like I
Right.
really was probably a nightmare to work with. I really was. And but I didn't see it. I wasn't aware of it. And also no one would tell me. So
Right.
like
Because they probably didn't want to set you off in like
probably
their
not.
eyes.
Fair enough. Like probably not. If the fucking fact that like someone didn't put a bottle back where it belonged was freaking me out and making me irritated, why would they want to be like, "Hey, chill, what the fuck's your problem?" Do you know what I mean? Like I get it. I was a fucking nightmare. But also, at the same time, I think the biggest thing about all the newness was that all the fucking standards and all the fucking rules just went right out the goddamn window.
Right.
Like, it was lawless in that bitch. Like, just
Mm-hmm.
lawless. And I cannot fucking operate that way. There has to be an SOP in place. There just does. Standard operating procedure.
Right.
I need to know what the fucking standards are. I need to know what the bare goddamn minimum is. So at least I know that I can meet it, and if I'm able to, I'll exceed it, right? Like, but I at least got to know what the fucking bar's at. And then when the bar was finally set, there were no consequences for not meeting the bar, right? Not reaching for the bar.
And that's your whole
And so many
justice
people,
that's your whole justice thing too. Like
yeah.
there's
So
rules, you gotta
now
follow
add,
them.
correct. Now add justice, the justice orientation thing being fucking abused and assaulted every fucking day. Like, these girls did not give a fuck. Like they were just as overstimulated and irritated as I was, I'm sure, with everything going on.
Mm-hmm.
But like their choice, their coping mechanism was to say, fuck it, I'll do whatever I want, and if it's wrong, oh well. My coping mechanism is like, follow the fucking rules, like, and I would
Fucking
just get
fix
really
it.
irritated.
And that's my
Right.
problem too. Like at work was like I joke, it's like I sometimes wish I had apathy. Like my life would be so much
Yeah.
easier if I didn't care.
Right. Right. Like, I wish I had that problem. And like, that is where I've just realized that, like, I have to start understanding when the situation is not cut out for me
Yeah,
or
it's not
I'm not cut out
conducive.
for the situation.
It's not
Right?
conducive to your mental health.
Right. And it's not necessarily that the job itself, that there was anything really wrong with the company, with the job itself, with like really any of the people that work there, other than like personalities didn't mesh, right? But like that situation, that style of fucking work, that work environment, being in that work environment every day, I was not cut out to be in that space, right? I just wasn't. It was not the space for me. And I was trying so fucking desperately to make that space work out for me and make that job work for me that I was literally like breaking my own mind mentally every day, trying to figure out how can I change myself to make these people like me? How can I not care about this stuff? It just never worked. It never fucking worked. No matter what I did, it was wrong. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what I said, it was perceived as bullshit or rude or fucking bossy or whatever. What I said had no weight whatsoever, even though I was a fucking assistant manager. Like, I could not say anything to anyone. Oh,
Right.
we lost Amanda for a minute. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, cool. I lost you for a minute. It was just me on the screen.
I was trying to
Um,
reset my settings.
oh, okay. But yeah, I don't think, when it comes down to it, I just was not cut out for that environment. And when you're so, like, when you're in it, something I've realized about myself is like, when I'm in it, I do not realize how awful I'm being. I do
Right.
not realize how overstimulated I am. I do not realize how uncomfortable I'm probably making everybody else
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have any control over my own ability to be in discomfort without freaking out, right? And like, is that something as a level 1 autistic 35-year-old woman I should be able to start working on and acknowledging and probably getting some help with? Yes, absolutely. And I am taking steps to like get there, but like, you can't work on something you don't know is a problem, right?
Right.
And so like, now that I realize it's an issue, I absolutely need to fucking work on that. My relationship to being uncomfortable is really not good. Like, I don't know how to be uncomfortable. And some things is sensory. Like, I literally just can't fucking help it. Like, that's never going to change no matter how much exposure therapy I have to the thing. It's never going to
Mm-hmm.
not cause me discomfort, right? But like, there are some things that I could learn to deal with. And I think overall it would just make me a better person. Like a
Yeah.
better person to be around and a better person in general if I could learn to like meter my own reactions in these moments of discomfort.
And like, and see, mine's always like hindsight. Like, I've told you a couple times where I had someone that I felt like maybe I snapped at them or something, and
Yeah.
then I immediately, it's one of those things. It's like I'm very like reactionary in terms of,
Yeah.
obviously, like when like, overstimulated, and so like I had some people that, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I'm thinking, "Oh god, that was, like, the wrong tone, the wrong thing to say," like, it's
Mhm.
immediate, and so, like, I have such a guilt complex that I will apologize, like say, like, this person called me on the phone, and I was kinda like a little, like, I was a lot better in terms of, like, typing it out if someone asked me a question, because like, I could, like, edit how I wanted to say it
Right.
before sending it and, like, make it sound, and plus, and I've talked about this before, but some of the people I worked with were kinda like pansies in terms of, like how people talked, like, they took everything so personally, and this is coming from someone that takes something so personally, but I'm talking about, like, sarcastic comments or,
Yeah.
like, and it's also the fact of, like, asking someone a question, and they think they think you're arguing with them when you're just
Yeah.
getting clarification, and so there'd be times where I someone would ask me for help for something, and I'd ask a clarifying question of what they're needing, and then they immediately, like, backtrack, like, "Well, I just need to," I'm like, and so then I'd get annoyed, like, internally annoyed with them, and, like, kinda, like, give them, like, a snappy answer, and then immediately be like, "That was not the right thing to do," but I was
Yeah.
doing it more, like you said, like you just since moving to that new building. So I'm just saying, I completely get it.
Yeah. And I think it's we are not our best selves when we're overstimulated. We're just
No.
not. And I don't think it's something we even realize in the moment until you're like, you have a minute to like think back and go, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. Or I shouldn't
Mhm.
have done that. Or that was a disproportionate reaction to something. And now that person probably thinks I'm fucking nuts. Right.
Mhm.
And like, sometimes I think this is where I don't know that it helps or it hurts to disclose that you are autistic. Cause like, I remember when I first told my boss that, I was for sure diagnosed like with ADHD and then most likely autistic, and we are trying to pursue that as an official diagnosis. Um, and like, she was cool about it, but like, until it showed up in the
Right.
workplace, right?
And then it's
And
seen as an
then
excuse, like,
right. Yeah. And I can understand that because to the outside world and to them, especially level 1 autistic people, we're so good at fucking masking until we're not,
right.
right? And
And it takes
that's, I
all of our
think, what
energy to
happened.
mask. It takes all of our energy to
Right.
mask, and so, like, when we become overstimulated, all of our energy is already to be a functioning adult in society. So
Right.
that
The
just
energy
pushes
is
over
just
the edge.
trying to hold it together so so you don't freak out on somebody. You're not interested in keeping the mask on when you're overstimulated. You're interested in how do I not freak the fuck out in public right now, right? And I think that's where a lot of it comes from. Like where all of the worst parts of me showed up in that job every day. Like the
Mm-hmm.
worst version of me, no matter how hard I tried to be the best version of me, those people saw the worst version of me damn near every day when we moved to that new building.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
I think had my body not given up on me, I was probably going to meet your fate anyway. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure I was on my way out the door. Um I just could not get along with anyone to save my life. It did not seem to matter what I said or did, even if I wasn't trying to be rude or mean. It was always perceived that way. And maybe my tone, maybe I really didn't realize how shitty I sounded, and that's possible. I'm not trying to make excuses for it, but like it does kind of go back to that thing where it's like autism's great when you're just being funny and weird and quirky, but then when the ugly side of it comes out,
Yeah.
it's like now you're scary and mean and bossy and we don't want you here anymore,
Well,
you
it's
know.
kind of like I talked about where, like, when we had Nick on, I was talking about the like me getting fired from the movie theater. Like
Right.
that was like a clear, like looking back at it now, it's like that was a clear case of I was overstimulated
Mhm.
and I lashed out.
Yeah.
And that made me like not I didn't lash out as big as my boss claims I lashed out, but
Right.
I mean, I won unemployment from because she blatantly lied to the judge, but that's neither
Yeah.
here nor there. But I just like recap, I had just got done getting like having the flu, getting like stomach flu. I was working the next day. I was pulling a double because I was working my shift and then working someone else's shift because it was Valentine's Day, and we had a line out the door. Like our theater was in a mall, and so our box office was like close to one of the entrances, but it's still like probably a good 50 feet between the box, or maybe even almost 100 feet between the box office and the actual entrance to the mall. And
Yeah.
that's how long the line was. It was a Friday
Yeah.
night and Valentine's Day, and everything was loud. We had too many people in the box office. It was like only supposed to have like two people, and we had like 4 or 5 people in the box office, and people were not listening to me. I like I said, just got done being sick. I was working like a 12-hour shift, and I just lashed out at somebody. And the next day I got fired. So I completely, so like you said, you're like, I probably would have met your fate. You probably would have met the fate of like 23-year-old Amanda or 24-year-old
Right.
Amanda losing her job. Like you probably would have lashed out at the wrong person in
Yeah.
front of the wrong person.
Yeah. And I did actually a couple times. And like
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised that I didn't get fired like right then and there, honestly, because it and I think the way that the place was run and how my relationship with my boss outside of work was sometimes, even though I tried very hard to keep it incredibly professional when we were working, and especially when other people were present, it was very professional. But we did have a very relaxed environment in that place. So it did make it feel
It
like
was
we could
tight
be a
knit,
little, yeah, it made it feel like we could be a little more
open.
unprofessional and open with each other, things you wouldn't say to a boss that you weren't close with, right? Like
That's
we
how I
would
felt
make
with my boss
jokes
at
and
Barnes and Noble. Yeah.
yeah, and like cuss and swear and like quote movies and like it was we had a different kind of relationship in that and an atmosphere altogether. Even if we didn't have a relationship outside of work, the atmosphere in that place was so much different. And so there was this level of comfortability, and I think that is something that's dangerous for someone who has a hard time reading people and reading the room sometimes. Like it's so weird for me because I have such a fucking vibe check. It's not even funny. Like I will check a vibe in a room so goddamn fast sometimes, and then other times I'm like I miss that altogether.
Right.
So I just sometimes I think I have the leeway to be able to say or do something, and then I realize later that that was not the time to have said or done that.
Right.
And it takes me so by surprise because nobody says anything to me in the moment or even pulls me aside after the fact is like, hey, that was probably not right. And I find out like 2 months later that that was something that someone is still mad at me for. And it's like, that's not
Oh,
helpful. Like, you
I
have to tell
totally
me now.
I totally get it because like there were times where I got like too comfortable at like any job really and or mainly at the job I just had. Like I got too comfortable and then it's told to me later that like and because they have to be so secretive and so vague, like, well, I was told that about they won't be specific about what happened, so I won't know what to fix, and like I won't know who to
Right.
fix it with. Like, okay, who tattled on me? Like,
Right.
it's basically because like my year-end evaluation was mostly good, but then she tells me that there have been instances where people think that you're mad at them or like something like not necessarily that I'm being rude, but they think that they can't come to me for help because of one reason or another. But I'm like, okay, can you give me examples? Like, I don't know how to fix something that happened that could have been months ago because someone made an offhanded comment of, oh yeah, is Amanda okay? Because I tried talking to her and like, you know, she just seemed a little like a little stressed out or a little off or something. Like, is that what you're talking about? Or like I was blatantly rude to them, but obviously this person didn't have the balls to tell me themselves, so they tattled on me to you. But like I
Right.
can't fix it. I can't change my attitude or my tone, especially like because it's like people every person's different. Like
Right.
there's people that I could completely be sarcastic and like a bit of an asshole to because they'll be sarcastic and a bit of an asshole back because that was her whole vibe. But there's some people that
Right.
were so sensitive that like I couldn't do that, and so I had to treat them with like, you know, treat them with kid gloves where some people like I was way more professional with, like especially like higher ups or like managers that I didn't have like a good rapport with. So it's like you have to have a different personality for each person. Like one of the coworkers I was close to, I would just sit in her office and we just bitch about the company. Like, we would just bitch about the company and we would bitch about other people. We would just talk about shit and we would curse and everything and we would just do whatever we wanted. But like I couldn't do that with everybody, obviously. And so I had to
Right.
but like if you're not telling me who I need to tailor my attitude with, I'm gonna keep acting like if I don't know who it is, I'm gonna keep acting how I act with people, like with certain people,
Right.
like if I don't know their name, like if I don't know who you're talking about. That's the whole
Right.
problem. Like I can't I can't be a single personality with every single person that I interact with.
Right.
It's I just can't. Okay?
Because then some people are going to think you're fake.
Right.
Like, it, I don't, I don't
And
know.
also or a robot.
It's
Like I can't be a robot where I just have one setting, right?
right. Yeah. And it's, I don't know. It's, it's such a double-edged sword because at some point we do have to take accountability for the fact that like we still did the thing, we still said the thing, we still lashed out when we
Right.
shouldn't have,
Like I'll
right? And we
apologize
have
if
to,
someone if
right,
someone co- becomes someone
right,
comes to me and tells me that like I don't like how you said that or like you know that hurt my feelings and I'll be the first person to apologize but unless I
yeah,
know what how who or what happened like when that happened what I said to say that I can't do anything about it. Like, you have to tell
right,
me. I don't know. I just don't know right offhand something that happened.
right. And like same with me, I would always say like you have to tell me. I don't understand when I've upset or gone too far unless you tell me I've gone too far. My intention is never I'm never going to start out trying to be fucking mean to you. I'm never going to start
Some
out
people. Like, I'm not out here to
trying
offend people.
right. Like but if I did, you need to tell me so I know what to not do next time. Like and I
Right.
will apologize. Like I have no problem doing that. Like it but it just seems like I don't meet a lot of people who are like that. I meet a lot of people who are like, well, we'll just not say anything and harbor this fucking resentment for this person. And then now that's who that person is to them. And whatever they say and do is now clouded with that lens. Instead of just clearing up the fucking misunderstanding to start with, or Even if it wasn't a misunderstanding, maybe I was meaning to be a bitch to you. Maybe I don't fucking like you. You'd know if you ask me, right? I'm
Right.
gonna fucking tell you, look, we don't fucking mesh. Sorry about it. Like, I can be respectful to you. We can have our thing, but like, we're not friends. Don't come at me like that, right? Like, it's fine. We can roll like that. But the brutal fucking honesty is something that a lot of people cannot handle. They just can't handle it. And I have a really hard time figuring out how to say shit to people in an honest way that doesn't hurt their fucking feelings. Like, I don't know how to placate you when I need to tell you something that's important or something that happened that I didn't like, unless I just tell you the fucking thing, brass tacks facts, right? Like, I just, here it is. Here's the fucking facts.
Right.
And I want people to be that like that with me because that's how I understand things. And that apparently, from what I understand now, is just not how the goddamn world works, I guess, because you can't just be honest with people. Apparently, everyone wants to be placated.
Right.
Everyone wants to be handled with kid gloves, or at least
Babied, basically.
a lot of people do, because and the very few people who I have met who are like, no, just fucking tell me, mean what you say and say what you mean, right? And we're good, are usually a little bit neurodivergent themselves. So it's like
Right.
I don't know. It just seems to be a difficult thing to find these days where you end up meshing with a person who's like, no, I need you to tell me like it is. Like, I need you to be like, listen, no disrespect, but like, this is the problem and here's how I think we should fix it. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
and also it's like, and like I'll and I like I told my boss, like, and I praised her for this, where I'm like, if there's something wrong, like, you have to tell me. You can't just.
yeah.
And that never really got fixed. Like, that's like the whole thing with my old company, is that, like you said, they would just stew on things.
Yeah.
Like, they would just resent, like, and not tell you for weeks or months or days or whatever.
Yeah. And I
And
found out
just,
that shit was happening to me too.
yeah, it's like, you can't, like, I can't fix something. Like, then it's basically, it's almost like, getting mad at like it's basically, getting mad at someone for doing something, and then, like, and they obviously, like, not telling them. I mean, this obviously is the exact situation. Like, someone says something to you rude, like blatantly rude, and you just don't tell them, and they continue to, but because you're not saying anything, that person thinks it's okay, so they're continuously blatantly rude, and then just getting more and more mad at them because you never corrected the behavior, like, in the moment. And so
Right.
then they go months, so, like, because then they obviously think that's okay. Like, there were coworkers I had that were blatantly sexist, and I would tell them that they were being blatantly sexist, but then because other people in the company wouldn't tell on them, or tell them that what they said was not correct to say, they just thought it was okay to be like that with everybody, but then got upset when other people called them out on it. It's like,
Right.
yeah, of course someone's gonna get upset because you're not saying anything. You're not confirming with them that what they're saying is, or what they're doing is, not okay.
Right. It's I think for me the biggest thing is like, how I can't live like that. Like,
Right.
and I understand not everyone has to behave like me. I get it, right? Like, we are all different. Not everyone works that way. Some people are so afraid of confrontation that they cannot say what's on their mind because they are so worried that it's going to cause a problem and they would rather just eat it and move on. But like, in a workplace environment where you are stuck with these people all the fucking time, especially like the workplace environment that I had, where you have to interact with the same three people on a sometimes fucking 5 to 6 days out of the week basic basis there for a little bit when we were really understaffed. Like, you see these people all day for the majority of your week, right? And they secretly can't fucking stand you. And it's like, I can't operate in a space like that. I
Right.
can't. I cannot deal with it because as soon as I know that you have been holding on to something for 6 fucking months. Like, a perfect example. The one girl that I had the biggest problem with after the first bitch that left, that hated my goddamn guts, for reasons that legitimately weren't my problem. Like, this legitimately wasn't my problem. I was told by several people above me in position that her problem with me was not my problem. So that I am absolved of. I can say.
Right.
The second bitch, maybe not so much, but like, it wasn't intentional. But she was holding on to a fucking thing I said to her, like, literally almost a year before we had our final blow up. Right before we moved to the new store, we had a massive fucking blow up, and I walked out of work and I didn't know if I was going back in.
Right.
It
I
was a
remember that.
problem. And yeah, I think we did a whole episode on it.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the problem was that the girl who left prior to her that she replaced was like literally a life sucking vampire. Like, she was a literal energy vampire. She was. She'd walk in the fucking like store and the whole goddamn mood in the store would just fucking change, right?
Right. Like a
But
dark
because
cloud.
it but because it started happening around the same time that this other girl started as well, it started happening around, it got really bad around the same time that this new girl was hired, because we hired them with an overlap. So there was about a month and a half overlap with the new girl, right? I thought it was the new girl because we were just so used to the other one's behavior that I think we were sort of like, because the other, my boss thought it was the new girl for a minute too. Let's not fucking get it twisted. Like, we both thought it was the new girl because she had some crazy shit going on in her life and she let it be known to us immediately. But like, so we thought it was her for the longest time. Well, then old Rain Cloud quit and left, and we started to notice the place felt a lot lighter. And so we were like, I went to her and I was like, honestly, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're figuring things out and we're able to work on this team. For a little while, it felt really heavy in here, and it sort of started happening around the time you came in. And I thought, maybe it was you who was bringing this heavy ass energy in here. But then when Maddie left, I realized it was her, right? And I'll name drop. I don't give a fuck. She don't listen anyway. I thought it was her, right? Or I knew it was her because when she left, the fucking energy went with her, right? That comment from that day forward was what made her not like me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I said, honestly, for a minute, I thought it was you. Because I couldn't figure out why it was so bad and you were the only new thing that was here, right? And then when Maddie left, the energy changed and I realized it wasn't you. I was just trying to have a conversation. Maybe I shouldn't have said that to her. Maybe that wasn't a nice thing to say. I don't fucking know. I was just trying to tell her, like, I thought it was you for a minute, but honestly, it was not you. And I'm glad it's not you because I actually really like you. Like, I was trying to have a conversation with her. And apparently that was enough to get her to not like me from that day forward and have so many issues with me and give me fucking attitude all the time. But like, be fake to me so much to where it's like, I think that we're good until like something little will happen and she'll give me the worst fucking attitude, and then we'll have a blow up and then it's like a problem. And I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? It was such inconsistent behavior, right? And it was because she was trying to get along with me, but secretly fucking hated me.
Mm-hmm.
And it eventually, she couldn't hold that mask any longer and it fell off and freaked out on me, right? Like, and I didn't know where the fuck it was coming from because I'd never done anything to her.
Like in your
So,
mind, in your
in
mind,
my mind,
in her mind, she slighted you, and so she's been holding
right,
on to it without saying it, like speaking up like an adult.
right. Well, and then there was a couple other instances where I did have to tell her something, but it was more of like a work thing. Like, there was some drama that was going on in her personal life, and it was rolling into the fucking job. And she was bringing it there intentionally. And my boss even said, good for telling her that. Because, and I basically told her, look, we don't need no drama here like that. You need to keep your personal business your personal business and keep it separate from the job. Please don't bring that shit in here. We don't need any violence rolling around in here. We don't need that, right? And I flat out told her. And I got the pat on the back for that one. So that probably pissed her Cheerios too, because I wouldn't placate her bullshit. Fine, whatever. But like, again, that goes back to me not being able to like watch some shit go down that's just fucking wrong when you're bringing potential chaos, like physical violence chaos, into the fucking workplace, the place that I work, and other people work who have been physically abused before in their past, and you're gonna bring that bullshit in here, you can fucking step somewhere else with it. It was a boundary I was laying. Don't bring that shit in here. We don't need it. Right? Like, I don't care how you feel about me laying a boundary out for you. I don't care. You can be pissed about it all you want. Like, but that was more of like a work thing in my eyes. And I'm able to like make that statement and move on from it. And that's just not how people are wired, I guess. Like, I can say something and we can not agree on something, and then 5 minutes later I can be like, we're fine as long as like we're not screaming at each other. As long as you haven't insulted me and I haven't insulted you, like, we're good, right?
Yeah. It's also like the people pleasers in us type of thing.
Right. Like, it's not a big deal. I can work around you. I can be cordial to you. Like, it's fine. But it just was not possible for her. And she literally could not let it go. And it literally festered into this mess where right before like a month before we were going to move into the new store, I did not know if I was walking back into that building. Like, I stormed the fuck out. Because she freaked out on me in front of a fucking new hire. And at that point, I was the assistant manager. Freaked out on me in front of a new hire. And my boss let her do it. And said nothing fucking to her. And I said, fuck the lot of y'all. And walked the hell out. Like, you don't get to talk to me like that. Like, I don't give a fuck who you are. And I wasn't even throwing around my title at that point. It was just more about, like, you don't get to talk to me like that, period. Like, I don't give a fuck who you are, what my title is, what your title is. You don't get to fucking talk to me like that. And nothing was done or said about it. No one was ever disciplined for anything in that fucking job. Never. No one was ever fucking disciplined for anything.
So your boss is like a doormat.
Yeah, but at the same time, I would be the one who'd get all the phone calls about all the things she was pissed about, but then wouldn't do anything about them. And I'm like, you got to set if there's rules, then there has to be consequences for when the rules are broken. And that includes me. Like, if I break a rule, you need to tell me I broke the rule and I need to suffer a consequence for that so that I know don't break that rule again.
Right.
Like, there's no consequences for rule breaking, ever. And so the place was a fucking mess all the time. And it left one or two people doing all the fucking work all the time. Or cleaning up the messes of the people who didn't want to pull an order correctly or pay attention to this, that, or the other thing. And like, nothing was ever fucking done about it. And the environment altogether, I just couldn't handle it. And I think moving to the new store and that routine disruption just fucking brought everything back out. And it was so bad, I could not hold the fucking mask anymore. And that's when Nightmare Nikki showed up. So like, she was starting to show up there right before we moved. And then the move just completely brought her out.
Yeah,
and I don't like Nightmare
it.
Nikki. I don't like Nightmare Nikki. She's literally the worst version of me. She's everything that I don't like about myself.
And it's also like, and I've joked about this with you before, it's like, we're also so self-aware that
yeah.
Because like I said, we wish we didn't care. Like, there are people that will hurt people or be shitty to people and just not fucking care. Like,
right.
Whether because they have like some personality disorder or they, it's just something they were taught or whatever. It's when we make a mistake, we ruminate over it for hours, days, weeks, years.
Yep.
So that's like I said, that's like my nightly ritual. It's like let's just go through all of the mistakes you've made and just
Especially if there was no attempt, there was no opportunity for you to try to make it right.
right,
You know, like with our situation, like there was no opportunity given for us to make some of this shit right because we didn't know there was a fucking problem.
right,
So like, yeah.
right. Like me losing my job, it's like there was no build up to it. It's not
No.
like there's no like you have one more chance or like we didn't have like a strike system like oh you get up written
Mm-mm.
3 times then you're fired. It's there was no like last time I got written up which was months and months ago there was no oh if this happens again you're fired. There's none of that. Like none of that. So that's why it was just like and like Nikki like suddenly had to lose her job and like me losing my job. Everything just spiraled
Yeah.
leading up to it, and then like we we both had an our environment changed, our environment moved, which led us to lashing out, acting out, and which which we lost our jobs in different circumstances. Nikki didn't lose her job; she had to quit, but we lost jobs in like
I was
we
gonna lose it, let's be
yeah
real.
yeah. So if Nikki's health didn't get in the way, we probably would have lost our jobs for not necessarily similar reasons because I didn't lose my job because like attitude or anything, but it's we would have been jobless eventually,
Yeah.
especially like after and the fact that they both happened after we moved to a new environment that we both hated, and they were both
Yeah.
like you said, both bright, both like not necessarily loud like for your case, but just both just unnecessarily overstimulating.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like people's environment affects their mood. Who would have thought?
Oh, who'd have thunk it?
I know, which just what a revelation.
Yeah. But I will say, like, it did take me, I mean, again, I'm a year out at this point. It took me almost an entire year to like recover from the burnout and the medical shit and the chaos that was that time in my life and then everything that happened in 2024, right?
Hmm.
I do think a lot of my physical stuff was exacerbated by burnout. I think I was burnt the fuck out by constantly being overstimulated every goddamn day. And I think like obviously I would have at this point we know it was the hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but I think I've always had that. It just I've not always had a strenuous job like that job. And I think working broke my body down. And then once we moved, the mental toll and emotional toll that it was taking on my body, plus the overstimulation, like all that shit affects your physical body. All that
Yeah,
shit makes it worse.
like if you had worked a different job, like say like an office job or something, you might not have never found out that you had
No,
this.
right. And that's really the jobs that I had before, honestly. Like the only other like physical quote unquote job that I had before this was when I worked for my mom at the hotel, and I only worked for her for like 6 months. And I was in pain every goddamn day now that I think about it. Like
And you were also
at
like what, 18?
I was 18, 17,
Mhm.
18, and I was still in physical pain every single day. Like again, hindsight's always 2020, right? Like
And at the
the
time you're like probably like
speed.
like why am I in pain when we have like these 40, 50-year-olds doing this and
Yeah,
they
exactly. And these bitches could clean circles around my ass. I am not kidding. They could knock out 3 rooms in the times it took me to do one. And that not that I wasn't trying, cuz I was. I could not keep up. I could not keep up. And then my mom finally moved me to the breakfast area because she saw that housekeeping was not fucking working out for me. Um, and so I would work as the breakfast hostess for a short while. And then I quit when my mom lost her job there. So like it was I've really only ever done that kind of stuff. And then of course retail jobs. But remember even when I worked at like Macy's and Dillard's, my legs would hurt all the time and they'd swell all the time. And I wasn't even like super heavy then either. I was never skinny, let's be real. But like I wasn't really that heavy when I was working at Macy's and Dillard's. I
And
was
like
much thinner then, and
and
I
you
was
know
still
that
in pain all the time.
and you know that's like the difference because it's like I when I worked at like Walgreens and stuff and like the beginning of me working at the movie theater, I was really heavy, but my legs were never my legs wouldn't swell up. So it's like
Yeah.
it's not like a weighted thing. It's just obviously like a circulation and other physical ailment thing.
Yeah, I was literally 50 plus pounds thinner at that time,
Mm-hmm.
if not more. I was in like my 160s to 180s days back then. So yeah, I'm significantly heavier than that now, and I was still in pain and was still having problems. So you know, it should have been something that I thought about, but like, who the fuck thinks about that at that age, right? Like, you
Right.
don't think you're gonna have some problem at fucking 19. You just think, oh well, I must have a bad back or something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think this is just different. I'd already had a couple kids. I was older. Like, it's just life. Your body's already deteriorated a little bit after that. Like, kids fucked my body up bad. We know that. Like, I just don't think I was ever gonna make it very far anyway. Um, it just accelerated that for me when the move happened.
Right.
But a year out, like I said, I'm just now starting to find a routine. Like I never want to. Let's be real. Something actually, and I've been meaning to text Nick about this, and if he's listening, thank you again for this, because honest to God, this like has saved me lately. When we were talking to him on our episode, and he said like, I never want to, so I don't even ask myself the question, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I never want to. I have started to think about that a lot and really evaluate, am I in a position right now where my body physically can't, or is it the mental I don't want to, right? Is it my mental health that's keeping me from doing the thing, or is it my physical health right now? And do I think that I can try anyway even if I don't want to? And I know that I don't want to work out. I never want to work out. I'm never going to want to work out. It's never going to be a thing that I will ever want to do. Okay?
Right.
Ever. I don't even give myself an opportunity to wonder if I'm going to want to work out. I have set a schedule Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Unless I wake up in excruciating pain, or like last week on Friday, I woke up with the worst goddamn stomach ache I've ever had in my life. I don't know what the hell was going on. So Friday, I did not work out, but I did run around all Sunday with my kid at a kids museum. So there's that. But I just do it. It just is what I do. Like it is now my routine. I know that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, after my children are out the door, if I'm not already dressed in my workout clothes, I will get my workout clothes on, put my shoes on, and go out to the garage, freezing cold or not, and get on that fucking treadmill for 10 minutes. That is how I start my day. By the time I am done with that treadmill walk, my mindset has shifted and I feel so much better. And I'm like, okay, let's finish this fucking workout. Then I come inside and I finish my fucking workout. I never regret doing it. There's not been one day that I have worked out, no matter how tired I was or how much I didn't want to fucking do it, that I have regretted it after the fact. And that is what I have been focusing on. Like, instead of do I want to, it's will I regret doing this?
Right. It's
When I'm
like I
done, will
said
I
before.
regret?
Yeah, it's
Go
more of
ahead.
starting to do it. It's more
Yeah,
starting to do it than because that's partly just not to interrupt, but like that's partly when like I would go on my walks on my lunch. It's like it would take more effort to start the process of going on my walks than like, but then I'd always feel better. Like
right.
me walking because I'd walk outside like around our town, and that was just a like a chill time for me. Like I put in
Mm-hmm.
some music and I got to ignore everything, but I always felt better after walking. But so I get it. So go on.
And like the focus on the feeling, like now that I've done it a few times and I know what it feels like after I've worked out, right? And I know how I feel after I've worked out, that is starting to become more of a, like, I can say I want that feeling, right? So I'm gonna do it anyway, even though I don't want to, because I know that at the end I'm gonna get to have this feeling. I'm gonna feel accomplished. I'm gonna feel strong. I'm gonna feel, whatever, right? I feel good after I've done it. So the drive to want that dopamine hit at the end of the workout, right? Like the that I've checked off the things on my board, right? Because I have them written down on the whiteboard on the wall. I have my little workout written down and I check it off. That is enough for me to push me past the initial executive dysfunction of not wanting to do the thing and not feeling like I'm able to do the thing. Because it's not just an I don't want to. It's with executive function. It's like I feel like I literally can't. Like my brain literally won't fucking let me.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a couple weeks of like pushing, like just getting up anyway. Like I know that I don't want to, and my executive function is telling me not to do it, but like I've tried to trick my brain into be like, get up right now, get up right now, just do it right now. And then I will get up and I will just go do the thing, even if I don't fucking want to. And it's not easy, but the feeling at the end, I've done it enough times now to where I know what it feels like when I'm done, and that is what I try to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know that even though I'm struggling right now to want to do this, when I'm done, I will get that reward, right? I will feel the good feeling, and that is the reward. So it's starting to become the reward outweighs the initial executive dysfunction. So we're starting to tip the scales. But it doesn't feel like that at first for a while. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you're trying to start anything. And like that's all I can say. That may not work for everyone, and I get it. It's fine. Not everyone maybe can make that happen for them. But I will say that I think had Nick not said that and I had not been thinking about that since he said it about the I'm never going to want to, so I don't even ask myself do I want to? I just do it anyway. It's it just has sort of changed a lot of shit for me. And I feel like
Right.
it's how I've stayed consistent. So he's kind of saved my ass on that one. So
Mm-hmm.
thanks, Nick. Thanks for therapizing me. I needed it, apparently.
when you didn't mean to.
Yeah, well, you didn't mean to, but damn, did you fucking fix some shit for my life there. So, yeah, that was. I just had to say that because, like, again, might not work for everyone, but it's working for me. And
Mm-hmm.
he that he jokes and says he talks a lot and is kind of an asshole and da da da. And those things, yeah, maybe they're true, but like I can tell that he really does have a really big heart and like he
Mm-hmm.
does care a lot about people. And
I think that's most autistics. Like we think we look
yeah,
like we might be assholes, but really we do care about people.
yeah. And I could tell that like when he calls you a friend, like he means that, right? When he is like when he cares about you, he cares about you.
Mm-hmm.
And that just sort of comes through in like the way he talks to people even if he doesn't really know them, that he genuinely just has a lot of like has a big heart and wants to see people do well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So the asshole might be a facade
Mm-hmm.
or it
Right.
might just be who he really is, but you can be an asshole and have a big heart at the same time, I think. So,
It might be, part of it might be a mask, but like I
yeah,
said, might just be who he is, and that's
yeah,
just fine either way.
but either way I'm happy to know him, and he's definitely changed my life in this time. I can confidently say that for the
Mm-hmm.
better. So go listen to On the Spectrum podcast. That's what I'm going to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Because Nick the asshole has a lot of good points,
Mm-hmm.
and so does Steve. We love Steve too. Steve's a good guy. He's a man of few words, but when he does talk, he's got some good shit to say. So much like Amanda, when she does talk, she's usually got some good shit to say.
I might not be able to enunciate it very well, but
That's all right.
like we said, we are the female Nick and Steve.
We really are. We really are. And like the weird, like weirdly enough, I was thinking about the other parallel the other day too. Is like Steve is straight and Nick is bi, and same for us. I'm I'm bi and you're straight. And everyone says that Nick and Nikki are like we joke that like we're the same person and that like you and Steve are the same person. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
holy shit, we are literally like male and female carbon copies of
Mm-hmm.
each other. So I don't know, it's funny. We love them over there. Go listen to their show. They're cool. They're cool guys. But yeah, we've this hasn't been another long ranty rambly one. I hope we have anyone
But
listening still.
but so basically this is just routines and how they routines and how routines and overstimulation affects somebody.
Yeah, affects us. Yeah, personally,
Yeah.
I guess, because everyone's different. But then some more bitching about what happened to us at work that we didn't like.
Yep. Yep. That we probably
Okay, I
talked about
swear
for
to
like the
God,
fifth time.
next week I promise we'll have a topic.
Yeah.
Okay, I promise. I actually want to look into OCD. To be honest with you, it's something I've really been like thinking about a lot.
And it's
So
one of those things
maybe,
that's like it's very marginalized because a lot of
yeah,
people are like, "Oh, that's just my OCD." I'm like, No, wanting pictures
no,
to be hung straight is not OCD." Like,
no,
I don't have OCD, so I'm not a therapist. I can't say what's OCD, but like that's not what
right,
OCD is. Like that's not what it
right.
is.
So I think if maybe you and I both can do some independent research on OCD and just sort of like bring together to the table what we found, like I think it
Sure.
might be a good episode. Because I feel like it's probably going to be a beefy one. So we'll do what we can with that because I think that'd be a good topic to get into next. So
Sounds
all
good.
right, well, fun and fuckery.
Sure. If we have something for
All
that.
right, here we go.
Well, here we are.
All right, on the other side. All right. I am looking over some little icebreaker questions that could be funny. I'm not even gonna. I just saw one. And I'm not gonna ask you this question because I know what would be on it. Just be ham and cheese or turkey and cheese. It's like, what's the ultimate sandwich? It's not ultimate.
Meat
It's
and
fucking
cheese.
plain as can be. Meat and
Meat,
cheese.
maybe some sort of condiment, but that's about it.
Yeah. How about what is the? No, that's too hard. We're too autistic for that question. What's the one item you can't live without? That's not a. We can't answer
No,
that
it's like
question.
we'd be making lists and or getting too literal, like air, water.
Right. um. Okay. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Fight.
I would say yes, especially like when the bun breaks and like in the back, and you
Yeah.
kind of have the hot dog between. Like that makes a sandwich.
I
Like
guess.
think of,
Yeah.
think of like a meatball sub. Meatball sub are considered sandwiches. I mean, I know it's like a sub is
Yeah.
a sandwich, and so like what's like basically a meatball sub is just a hot like if you take a hot dog and just cut it up into ball-sized pieces.
Yeah.
So the other one is our taco sandwiches. Our tacos. What was it? Is it or oh? I guess it's a hot dog either. Can a hot dog be a sandwich or is it a taco?
Oh.
Because like
Yeah.
the bun
Well,
could be
okay.
like the shape of the
Yeah. So it's like I guess where you're at is like what do you define
it's
as
the
a
shape.
sandwich? Meat between two pieces of bread would
Yeah,
be yes, then a hot dog would be a sandwich
but
because
technically a bun is one piece of bread. It's not two pieces of bread. It's one piece of bread. But then, like I said, if it splits in the back, does that make it a sandwich?
right.
But
Or there
or is it a
is
taco? Because like a taco, like the shell, like wraps around it on one side, like a hot dog.
right. So my thing is like would that would be considered a wrap
Yeah.
or like I don't know. Like I don't know. It would be all it's all fucking categorical, right?
How
It's
literal can we
anecdotal.
be?
Right. Like I don't think when I think of let's have a sandwich, I definitely don't think of a fucking hot dog. But like if you want to get technical, it's meat on bread. So possibly,
Yeah.
but I don't think of a I also don't think of a meatball sub as a sandwich even though it's on bread. But like
Mm-hmm.
I when I think of a sandwich, I think of two
Individual.
unconnected pieces of bread
Mm-hmm.
with some shit between it. Whatever, I don't care if it's even meat and cheese. I don't care what is in between it.
Apparently, apparently, according to this, it said even language experts have issued a verdict. Merriam-Webster, the dictionary people, came down definitively on the side of yes, a hot dog is a sandwich because the definition of a sandwich is two or more slices of bread or a split roll having a filling in between.
Okay.
So by definition is a sandwich. We just wouldn't think
Okay.
like obviously you could probably name 100 different sandwiches before you get to hot dog.
Correct. Yeah, that's what
Like
I was
it's kind of like
thinking.
it's kind of like technically tomato is a fruit, but we always ironically think tomato is a vegetable, even though we
Right, because
know
it's not
deep down it's
sweet.
not. We know that deep
Right.
down it's not a vegetable, it's a fruit, but we wouldn't think of that as a
Right.
fruit,
Just like
fruit ironically.
peanuts are not
You
nuts. They're
you would name
legumes.
100 different fruits before you name tomato.
Correct. And if someone asked you to name legumes, you're not, I mean, well, maybe you would say peanuts now because most people do know that. But like peanuts are not nuts, they're legumes.
And like what like
So,
strawberries are something.
droops, they're droops, I think.
Yeah.
Or no, what are the ones that have the I don't remember what it's called when they have seeds on the outside. It
Oh.
cuz raspberries are those two and blackberries. Hold on.
Yeah, raspberries aren't
Strawberry
berries. Yeah, they're classified as aggregate fruits because
aggregate fruits, yes.
they develop from multiple ovaries within a single flower. So I think a banana is a berry, isn't it? Yes.
No, banana
A
is
banana.
technically an herb.
No, it says according to botanical definition, a banana is considered a berry.
Is it?
Yeah, it's both a berry
I
and a
thought
fruit.
it was.
It said
That's,
the banana flower contains one ovary, which grows into a single banana. The banana has somewhat of a soft skin, juicy flesh, and many tiny seeds. But it's also like it says. Remember, if it's a berry, it's also a fruit by default, and it shows like a Venn diagram. Like common berries are like cherries, strawberries, but then on the other side, bananas are botany berries, and in the middle are like blueberries and stuff.
yeah. And then I found out that so the banana tree is not actually a tree; it's an herb. That's where I got that from. So
So it's like a
it's a
strawberry is a
giant
berry,
herb,
but scientifically speaking, a banana is a berry.
right?
That's from Live Science.
Yeah. So yeah, that's some fun facts for you.
There you go. You came on this podcast to find to hear us bitching about routines and dysregulation and all this, and you got fruit facts. You're welcome.
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna get over here. Oh shit, it's anything goes on fun and fuckery, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, I
That's all I
don't.
got for you.
I'm. That's all we got. I got nothing else. Let's hit Julie.
Julie, do the thing!
I'm afraid there are no more things to do.
Woohoo!
Sorry, I was late on the jump for Tenzin. Usually I try to get it right after, but
Mm-hmm.
it's fine. All right. That's it. I have to go get my kid here in a minute, so I'm gonna jump off here and go put pants on because the best thing about not using video and sitting in my recliner is I can be in my pajama shorts
Mm-hmm.
and no bra, and y'all can't see that.
And you can't
And
see
it's
me at
great.
all, so there you go. Because my camera stopped
Yeah, and I
working.
can't see. I haven't been able to see Amanda for the last fucking 2 hours, so
Mm-hmm.
it's fine. But all right, we love you, and we will see you next week.
Okay. Bye.
Goodbye.